My guest at this time is Kurt Schlichter. He's the senior columnist at townhall.com and author of the brand new book, Militant Normals, How Regular Americans Are Rebelling Against the Elite to Reclaim Our Democracy. It officially launches next week. One of Kurt's regular themes in his writings is that the political right needs to learn how to fight back and go on the offensive against an increasingly aggressive political left. We're seeing an important battle in that fight right now, of course, as 3 different women now allege serious sexual misconduct against Supreme Court nominee Brett Kavanaugh. So, what is Kurt's assessment of the Republican response, and what does the GOP need to be ready for Thursday and beyond? And Kurt, thanks so much for being with us.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Well, the latest accuser, represented by Michael Avenatti, we should point out, alleges Kavanaugh spiked the punch at high school parties to drug girls and prepare them for gang rapes, which supposedly happened with some regularity. The Democrats are now demanding President Trump pull Kavanaugh from consideration unless he orders a full FBI investigation of all these claims. And Senator Merkley of Oregon is actually now trying to get a federal judge to block a vote somehow in the U.S. Senate. So what's your immediate reaction to the tactics we're seeing from Democrats?
My immediate reaction is not FCC compliant. If I were Chuck Grassley, I would ask the Democrats to perform an anatomically challenging act upon themselves, because this is a burning garbage fire of lies.
What do you make of Grassley? Some have said, of course, if you look at what Dr. Ford's team is saying, that he's been a bully, even though he's tried to accommodate her in a number of ways. You've got other folks saying he's bent over backwards far too much in this process. So what's your read on how he and Mitch McConnell have dealt with this?
I'm down here in the South Bay of Los Angeles within about 5 minutes of the site of the Manhattan Beach preschool. Do you remember that legal abomination from the 1980s when a bunch of innocent people were falsely accused of terrible sexual crimes, imprisoned for years, ruined, and finally exonerated years and years later? This is the same thing. This is an atrocity. This is a disgrace. For cheap political advantage, you have the Democrats getting rid of concepts like the right to confront your accuser, the right to be the right to cross-examine your accuser, the right to a presumption of innocence, all that out the window for cheap political advantage. This isn't just a judicial secret. This is the most basic foundations of our Anglo-American jurisprudence. This is an attack on what it means to be a free people that embraces liberty. And we must say no. No to these last-minute attacks. No to these manifest lies. No to Stripper Matlock. Does Stripper Matlock sound like the guy you'd go to if you really, really believed you had a meritorious case? I mean, I'm a trial lawyer in Los Angeles, too. I know about guys like this. I deal with guys like this. You don't go to guys like this if you are serious. You go to guys like this if you're trying to get yourself on MSNBC. You go to guys like this if you have a bogus claim that you know he'll scream and yell about. And that's exactly what he's doing. You read it. The best case scenario is you have a woman who waited 35 years, one voice against 65 people who said it never happened. One person saying, yeah, I used to go to these parties where they were gang raping women, so I kept going back to them. Does that sound remotely plausible? Does it sound remotely plausible that none of these women ever reported any abuse in a third of a century since it allegedly happened?
Kurt, I've seen several conservatives on social media say that withdrawing Kavanaugh is simply a non-starter at this point. Even people who didn't think he was a great pick by Trump, that he could have done better, say this is now about way more than Kavanaugh. And you mentioned just a moment ago, it's about the foundations, in your estimation, of our Anglo-American judicial system. So barring a lot more specific evidence, how important is it for conservatives to continue this fight and get this nomination over the finish line?
It's critical. The Democrats have to lose. They cannot win. This cannot stand. They don't get to win, Greg. They don't get to do this and succeed. Not only because it's wrong for Kavanaugh, because it will be repeated again and again. Hell, it's already being repeated again and again. This is just another in a long line of them. We need to stand up and say, no, you don't get to succeed. You lose. He's the Supreme Court justice, and as soon as Ruth Ruth Bader Ginsburg leaves the court. We're doing it. We're going to put up another hardcore conservative, and you could try it again, and you're going to lose there, too.
Some people are shocked at how ugly this fight is getting. You're not surprised at all. In fact, your new book talks about this a lot. Militant Normals explains that ugliness is now standard operating procedure. So take us in the book a little bit. What is the most effective way to fight back other than having enough votes to get this and other things done?
Well, look, having the most votes is key, which is why turnout's going to be so important. And I'm hoping this atrocity is energizing the GOP base, the normal American base. And I don't think it's just Republicans who are offended by this. I haven't seen polling to back me up. Not that I necessarily believe the polls, because I don't believe anything the media says. But anecdotally, I'm getting some feedback that fair-minded liberal people are saying, wait a minute, I have a brother, Greg, I have a son, I have a husband, and a lie from a third of a century ago can destroy him. And he can't fight back. I'm not willing to accept that world. Not for the men in my life who are good and decent and who I love. Just because they disagree, because they might disagree with some social justice warrior principle.
What do you expect to happen Thursday?
I think there is a 50-50 chance she shows up. I think if she shows up, the Democrats say she was brilliant and compelling. I don't think she actually will be objectively. I think Kavanaugh will be objectively compelling. I think the Democrats don't care what he says and are willing to sacrifice him, his reputation, and his family on the altar of killing babies.
Last question, and we've talked about this a little bit, but just to crystallize, what's the fallout if Kavanaugh is confirmed, and what's the fallout if he's not confirmed?
I think if Kavanaugh is confirmed, I think that will get the Republican base, the normal base, activated and happy. There's nothing succeeds like success. If he is not confirmed, what I hope the president does, because I think it will be by 1 or 2 votes, probably some shiftless loser like Jeff Flake. I think what the president should do is say, okay, every red state Democrat who's up for election, vote against him. On January 1st, I am renominating Brett Kavanaugh. Now this election is about Brett Kavanaugh. I will see you in Missouri. I will see you in Montana. I will see you in Florida and Indiana and all the other states. And you, the American people, will decide. If you vote Republican, you are going to take the side of justice and truth. And if you vote Democrat, you're going to take the side of lies. And then let's make this election about Brett Kavanaugh. Let's do it.
We'll be watching tomorrow. The president has absolutely defended Kavanaugh every step of the way so far. We'll see how it goes from here. Thank you very much for your time, and best of luck with the book.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Kurt Schlichter, senior columnist at townhall.com and author of the brand new book, Militant Normals, How Regular Americans Are Rebelling Against the Elite to Reclaim Our Democracy. I'm Greg Columbus reporting for Radio America.